what is cracking? It is your girl, Lillian Francis. And we are back with another breakdown video. Today, I'm gonna be breaking down my brand new track. What's it called? Tongue Tied. This is a track that actually started out in 2021. I had the idea for this melody in my head. I got it at like Burning Man. It just came to me at Burning Man. I was like, tongue tied up to me, aren't you, babe? Oh, I actually have the first voice memo I ever took of it. Let me show it to you. Aren't you, babe? Yeah. Tongue tied to me now. So this is actually low-key fascinating. I produced this song while I was filming another YouTube video. I was putting out a YouTube video about like how to turn your voice notes into actual songs. And I used that voice note as an example. I was like, okay, I have this cool idea for a song. I like it, but I have like a million voice notes on my phone and I never turned them into anything. So my challenge was to actually take a voice note and turn it into a song. So I actually filmed me producing this song. So you can go ahead and watch that and see how I did it in real time. But now looking back on it, I am going to break down how this came together and show you guys some production techniques, where I got the sounds from, mixing stuff, how this song came together. I think it's so interesting to see how other producers create music because there are so many different approaches to it. And every time you see how someone else works, it opens up new little boxes in your brain like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. Okay, great. Let's try that next. So I'm very much hoping that this will give you some ideas that you can take into your productions. All right, let's dive right in. Splash. All right, family, so welcome to my Proj. This is where the whole thing comes together. This song started out as just a guitar and me singing and a chorus. And basically, when I first recorded it into Ableton, it was just me singing and the guitar's right and like some kind of basic drums and like a basic ass bass. And it was like not very much fun at all. It sounds so sweet. Like, it's not supposed to sound sweet. It's supposed to sound sexy. And then I started just like fucking around, taking sounds, putting audio effects on them, resampling them, like changing a bunch of shit around, and then coming up with some really interesting sounds that I was able to piece together to kind of create this song. So anyways, we are gonna be breaking down a lot of fun experimental techniques and how I just came up with random, fun, interesting ideas by kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, essentially is what production is for me personally. All right, let's break it down from the top, guys, starting with the drums. So I really like the drums in this track. Let's hear them. So we're starting with just this kick. And damn, this kick did not have like any processing on that, which just goes to show if you have the right sound to start with, you shouldn't have to do too much in the mixing department. So we got that kick, and then we've got this chill snare here. Ooh, nice snappy snare. 420 snare inspector. Let's see what we got on here. Ooh, I use this kilohertz transient shaper on it, which gives it a little bit more punch in the transient because I wanted to hit a little harder. Yeah, it's gonna add some gain, but it definitely adds a little bit of oomph, a little shoomph. Let's see, I'm adding in some width to the snare. And what I'm doing is I am adding width as a parallel process because I don't want to just widen my snare, because what that's going to do is it's going to take energy out of the center. And I really want my snare to smack in the center. At the same time, I want to have some width to my snare so it's taking up more space. So what I can do is add in a widening plugin onto a parallel chain and then bring in that chain depending on how much width I want. So as you can see here, I've added in this wider by Polyverse onto this width chain, right? Which is just an audio effect rack with two chains on it. We've got a dry rack, which doesn't have anything in it. So that's our dry signal. And then I have this width rack, which has wider at 200%. And then I just brought in that width to -21 decibels. So you have that original dry snare down the center, which is hitting hard and powerful and centering that energy, but also we're having that width kind of widen it out. So best of both worlds. Hashtag Hannah Montana. Oh my God, it's so subtle. Subtlety is the name of the game. And then finally, I've just got a little bit of EQ pulling out the lows that I don't really need in this guy. All right, let's check out the percussion here. I think the reason that this sounds so cool is because I'm integrating a lot of triplet grid in here. I've got this triplet little note here, these triplets here, Oh, we got these ones here too. Adding triplets gives a sensation of like running faster and also slowing down at the same time. It's like you're like woo, 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 which makes it like a really cool push and pull when it comes to programming drums. And the way that I did that was just changing up the grid as I was producing my drums. So if you hit Command 3, it is going to turn your grid into a triplet grid. And so I was just kind of going back and forth between having a normal grid and a triplet grid, right? And like putting in notes for the triplet grid and then switching it back to normal grid and then adding like normal notes, right? So I would highly suggest you play around with the triplet grid, turning it on and off and getting a little bit of nice movement to your drums if you haven't tried that already. At one point I bring in these breaths here, which is actually pretty cool. I love adding in breaths as percussion. So check this out. This is a simpler device. And what I did is I added in this vocal sample of me singing. So that was a vocal sample that I actually created in this project that we're gonna get to in a second. But what I did is I threw this, drag and dropped it into a simpler device that we see right here. And then I went over to slice mode and this sliced up my sample every 8th note because I chose it to slice up every 8th note. And so when we do that, we're gonna get a bunch of slices that are just simply breaths. So we're using that kind of organic breath, which sounds really cool, and then programming it in so we get like, yeah, sweet. Let's go ahead and move on to our bass next. The bass is super simple, so simple, but pretty cool. Check this out. I am using this synth bass sub Texas sample. Where'd I find this? This is part of the core library. That is literally just a sub that comes with Ableton. Yay. What I did, because she is a sample and I don't want a sample, I wanted to turn it into MIDI so I could play it up and down the keyboard. I just created a new MIDI track, Shift Command T, and then dragged and dropped in this little sample onto the drop in instrument or sample here. And then automatically a simpler device is created containing the sub. And then I can go ahead and play it up and down. So really what makes this bass so cool is the saturation. So if we turn off all the saturation, here's what it sounds like. That ain't shit compared to so what am I using here? I'm using a combination of saturator, and then also I'm bringing in some distortion plugins on a parallel chain. So I created an audio effect rack, and then I have 2 chains. I have a dry chain, so this is my signal going through unadulterated without any audio effects or anything on it. And then we have this redux chain that paired with erosion. Yeah. The thing about saturation is that they're all same but different, right? Ableton has maybe like 5 or 6 or maybe 7 different saturation plugins that you can use, and they all work, they just work in different ways, right? So it's up to you to kind of get a vibe for each one of the different saturation plugins and know which one to grab for which occasion. Okay, and then wider, what do I have here? I'm widening, oh, interesting. Okay, I am widening my saturation, okay? So my saturated chain, I'm pushing that out to the side. What I'm doing here is I am keeping my bass in mono, essentially, the bass part of my bass, right? The low part of my bass, I'm keeping in mono, which I love, right? Because I normally want my actual bass to be in mono because it is gonna create this really strong centered focal point for the rest of our song to kind of build up and around. Also, bass can take up so much space in the mix that if you have a stereo bass, it can just like swallow up your entire track very fast. But the bass is a big part of this chorus. It's like a hefty girl, okay? And I wanted her to take up a lot of space. So I kept the bass down the center, locked in mono. And then I have my really saturated sounds kind of pushed out to the side a little bit. Then I also have this bass mono utility plugin. So I am making any bass that we still have in the saturation in mono. But everything above 130, it looks like here, is actually being pushed out to the side. what next? Oh, I think I have fun in here, you guys. In the bass, let's go to our envelopes. Let's check out our MIDI control. As I expected, we have pitch bend happening here. So this is a great way to make your MIDI notes way more interesting and to make bass a lot more interesting is adding pitch bend. So here we have, right? Instead of just giving it a little bit more groove, energy, personality. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Okay, now we're gonna start getting to the juicy, okay? The intro vocal chops. So let's give this a listen and then I'll break down how I made this. So this is the same vocal that we were using for the breaths when we were programming in these breaths up here. So this sample that I'm using here, that I'm chopping up, kind of like unlocked this entire song. It sounds kind of wonky, sounds kind of weird. It sounds like that because I used a vocoder on it. So essentially I had a vocal track that was singing probably like some kind of harmony to "Your tongue tied up." Actually, you know what? I know I have a video of me doing this, so I'm gonna show it to you guys real quickly and then I'll explain a little further. So roll the clip. I wanna add one more harmony that I'm hearing. Your tongue tied to me now. Ooh. For whatever reason, I'm feeling a vocoder on this vocal. I never use a vocoder. I don't know why. And we're gonna stack harmonies for the carrier. All right, let's recap what I did. So I essentially took a vocal. Let's say we had this vocal and I threw a vocoder on it. And what a vocoder does is it essentially takes a piece of audio, this vocal, for example. What you looking for, did you find it? It takes that piece of audio and it analyzes that audio. It analyzes the frequency spectrum of that audio. So let's look at that, what the frequency spectrum looks like. What you looking for, did you find it? What our vocoder does is it takes that frequency response and it applies that EQ essentially to a carrier. And the carrier that automatically comes with vocoder is just this noise carrier. What you looking for? And then we get this thing that sounds kind of like a vocal, but kind of like white noise. So that's essentially what I'm doing here is I am just taking a carrier that is external or from a different audio input. So I chose a different audio input, which was a different vocal. Let's see if there's any other audio happening right here that we can choose. Maybe this one? Sure, let's pretend audio texture. We can use that one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab audio input from audio texture, that one. And now listen, it's gonna sound something like this. Because what it's doing is it's analyzing the vocal and then it's applying that EQ curve to this other audio. So I may have played around with the dry wet knob to kind of get the ratio that I wanted. But you wish you could have seen my face again, but then again. Oh, dude, vocoders are under fucking rated, bro. They're sick. Anyways, that's how I come up with that very cool little vocal line that in turn sparked essentially the rest of the song. So for example, let's pop down into audio. This guy right here, that's just this resampled into an audio track, right? And then I just took that and I transposed it down 12 semitones. It sounds like this. Together, they sound great. Okay, let's hop down into audio for real skis this time. The first thing that we have here is my group of leads, i.e. risers. I call risers leads in my brain and some people get confused about that. But I have a shit ton of risers, dude. Holy fuck. All of these risers were made in different ways, but essentially they're mainly like impacts and other like reverb tails that have been reversed. Cool. Oh, that riser's doing something funky. Oh, she being pitched up. Let's go. Yeah. Okay, so let's break this down for a second. This riser was just some kind of a reverb tail that I then reversed. And then in addition, I added on some pitch automation. I went into my envelopes right here, and then I went to clip, transposition, and I believe I transposed it. I think it was up like 2 semitones over the course of time. Pairing a riser with a little bit of pitch automation can really accentuate the energy rising. All together now. Excellent. So just a ton of these little riser guys. Let's check out what else we have here. I have these vocal pads. And these were just me going like, and then I just chopped them up. And I believe I duplicated it and then pitched down one, probably, 12 semitones. And then I have a lot of interesting effects on this. Like I have, actually, let's just turn them on one at a time. So I have some reverb, right? Without the reverb. Right, reverb to kind of diffuse it a little bit, space it out. I've got this harmonizer happening. I fucking love this Max for Live device. This is the M4L harmonizer, and it is like a harmonizing delay where it repitches the sound as it gets delayed. Yeah, it's kind of a cool harmonizer situation. And then I brought down the dry wet knob. So it's got this nice like kind of sheen layer on top of it. Oh, yeah, this is cool. Again, I'm using that breath as kind of a rhythmic texture. So you can see I took just the breath from the beginning of that. Yeah, I took just the breath. And then on these vocal pads, I have a compressor side chaining it to the kick, so it's bouncing. Which sounds so freaking cool with the drums. Yeah. All right, resampled vocals. What do we have here? Come on. You guys can see this is part of just a larger resampling situation. Woo, holy Jesus Christ. Oh my God, I resampled this for a while. All right, here's what I did here. This is one of my favorite little tricks. I love throwing a delay onto a sound. I think the sound that I used was this. And I threw on, I believe this is what I did. Again, guys, I produced this in like 2021. So I'm just trying to backtrack as much as I can. So what I do is I throw a delay on the channel. I set the dry wet knob to 100%. And then what I did is I kept the mode on repitch and I changed the delay sync times as it was playing. And also as I was recording this into a new audio track, external input resampling, right? Go ahead and arm that stuff. And then as it's playing, just changing it. So I did that like forever. And then when I was done doing that, I had this long ass lineup of all these interesting sounds to mine. I'm pretty sure I used a delay on this, but I could have been using some other audio effect. But the idea is that you take an audio effect, you put it on a sample or a track or whatever, and then you just flip around the different knobs, resample it into another track, and then you get this like gold mine where you can just sift through and get all these interesting little sound snippets. Right? Come on, fucking cool. That is like the foundation of my music production, is just like hearing a cool sound and being like tight and then resampling it and then fucking it up some more and then be like tight and then resampling it and fucking it up. So check out, all these little resampled vocals are just from that. I'm honestly really stoked on this song. God, sometimes I feel like I sit down to make music and I have absolutely no idea how to do it. And other times I sit down to make music and it's just like, I cannot even work as fast as my brain is working. And it's just like flow state, and it's like and then this comes here and this comes here, and whoa, that sounds cool, and like boo, 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 right? And you never know when you're going to sit down at your computer, when you're going to not know how to make music, and when everything is just going to come out even better than you expected. And that's why you've got to sit down, even if you're not feeling inspired, and make music, because you never know when it's going to hit and when it's not going to hit. And if you're waiting for inspiration to strike before you start making music, God, it's going to be really hard to produce enough shit to actually get to the gold. What next? We have these bridge blips.
You just can't take me. Tell me where you want me, baby.
And again, these are just going to be more audio samples from long resamples that I took. And I don't really honestly know what audio effect I threw on or whatnot. But again, it was some kind of audio resampling fuckery where I had a sound, I threw on some audio effects, and then I resampled it. And ththese guys, are they being repitched? Yeah, I had this one, and then I just kept repitching it up. This was repitched up 2, up 7, up 12. Bitchin'. Okay, this is basically the entire song. It's just a bunch of little resamples that I just fucked around with. So let's hear without this op shaper. Whoa, this adds so much energy to it. So stop shaper with the phase at almost a 360, but slightly off. So it's like an auto pan, but instead of changing the left and right volumes to go up and down, we are syncing them so they're going up and down together. So it's essentially creating this like, right? Fuck yeah. Okay. All right, and then we have our vocals. So I actually process my vocals serially in a different project. So once I'm fully done with the production, I will bounce that instrumental version and I will open it up in a different project, and then I will record my vocals in that project, and then I will process my vocals serially in that project. So that means I'm adding compression, I'm adding EQ, I'm de-assing, I'm doing any high-end excitement, any saturation, anything else that I want on the serial chain for my vocals, okay? And then I export those, or I bounce them from that other project, and I drag them back in here, and then that's when I start adding in my parallel processes. These are all of my parallel return tracks. The majority of these ones I think are for my vocals, okay? So this vocal reverb, I am bringing in my vocal reverb as a parallel process because I want to have my dry vocal down the center not getting pushed back by the reverb, right? If I just had the reverb on as a serial process, as we bring up that dry wet knob, the more wet we get, i.e. the more reverb I get, the more I have to turn down my dry signal, right? And so I'm essentially sacrificing my dry signal for that wet signal. But I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want to have my dry signal down the center, taking up space right front and center, and then also have this like wide reverb coming up in around it. So it's getting the space and the vibe, but my vocal is staying present in the front. So I am sending, as you can see here, negative 22, that's not a lot, honestly, negative 22 decibels of this group to go to this vocal reverb. What am I doing? I'm using this Valhalla Supermassive on the Reverb 2000 preset. I'm using a compressor to sidechain it to my vocals because I want my reverb to dip a little bit when my actual vocals are playing, just to give my vocals some more clarity. But then as soon as my dry vocals come out, the reverb kind of comes in behind them. And that just helps retain some clarity for my vocals and make sure that the reverb is not getting in the way with my box. And then I'm also using this wider by Polyverse to push my reverb out to the side because I don't want to cluttering it down the center. It's not that important. But I want to use it to kind of widen my sound and get those nice like verby kind of highs out to the side. And then I just have a little bit of EQ because I don't want any super lows in my reverb. And then I also have a de-esser here that's further taking out some of the S's because I really love this Valhalla supermassive reverb, but it gets really sibilanty. There's like no reverb I found in here where I don't need to add in an extra de-esser on the parallel chain. So that's one thing, the vocal reverb. The next thing that I have added to this is our Haas delay. And a Haas delay is just a very small delay that's different between our left and our right channels, anywhere from like 0 milliseconds to 40 milliseconds. And when we have a slightly different delay in our left and our right side, but it's not so big that it sounds like an echo, what that's doing is it's actually just creating width. Our brain interprets it as coming from like two different places. So it goes whoop, like that, okay? But it doesn't actually sound like a delay. So I'm using Echo Boy here to create that width. That's just a Haas delay with Echo Boy. And then I have this slap delay, which is just like a Haas delay, except for it's a little bit longer, okay? So you can see we have basically 100 to 110 milliseconds in the different ears. So it's giving it a little bit more space and a little bit more depth to our vocals. I have this drum verb that is adding just a little bit of verb to my drums. And that's just helping my drums all kind of stay in the same space, right? Giving them all the same reverb, kind of helping them glue together, even though they came from a bunch of different sample packs. But this verb delay cloud right here, this is like a temporary automation on some of my vocals. So like here when I'm singing, tell me where you want me, baby, you can see that it is being automated on. It is being automated to send -7 decibels.
Tell me where you want me, baby.
So what's in this verb delay cloud? It is a reverb, a high pass, so we're taking out some of the lows and the highs. We are pushing it out to the side with this mid-side mode on utility. We're doing a couple different compressors that don't seem to be doing anything. Maybe at one point they were getting audio from somewhere, but they're not doing anything anymore. And then I have this time travel echo happening. So it's like an echoey delay. You can download that if you want. I'll link that below. So between our Haas delay, our slap delay, and our reverb, we've got some really good like thickness and vibe to our vocals. I swear to God, y'all, the trick to professional sounding vocals is serial plus parallel processing. Use serial to do all of your EQ, your compression, your de-essing, your saturation, etc. And then you use parallel processing to get that width and that kind of weight to your vocals. So I'm going to show you guys what it sounds like with and without the verb and the Haas and the slap, and you can hear the difference for yourself.
Yeah, tied up to me, aren't you, babe? You're tied to me now. Yeah, tied up to me, aren't you, babe? You're tied to me now.
Oh, sounds so good. Okay, guys, we have made it to the end. So let's go ahead and listen to the whole thing. Why don't we? Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, listen from the start. All right, let's go.
What you looking for to find it? But you wish you could rewind it. But you wish you could have seen my face again. But then again, If you fell, it wouldn't catch you.
All right, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining. I hope that you learned something fun or cool or interesting, and that you can take those cool new ideas and apply them to your own projects and make even more cool, dope sounds. All right, cool, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.